Well, evidently I got chickens like some people have flies. Excuse me. What? Uh, I have talked about this before. Like many of the things I talk about, it's come up before. This is the hemp fibers. You know, I had earlier cut down a bunch of these and soaked them by putting them in a stock pond and weighting them down, and then it releases this kind of a glue that holds this outer fiber to the stem, soaking it in a process called retting. Actually releases that glue so you can pull the fiber off. So that's what I'm kind of in the process of doing. And then I actually do have a carding machine that was made for doing wool, but that would work fine for this too. But, okay, like here's one of the plants. This is a relatively short one, but I'm saving a lot of these. What I'm going to do, you know, these are the seeds. I'm going to save a lot of these and plant them or just dump them in this one area I have that has a lot of sand in it. It's poor soil, but this stuff grows in poor soil. See, here's, like I say, this is the outer that's got the fiber in it, but it is bound to the stem. So by soaking it, it comes off a lot better. You know, and the rest is just heavy, woody, which I haven't figured out a purpose for. I'm going to burn them, but I would think you could, if nothing else, you could grind them up and make a good insulation, because it's just a cellulose fiber. But anyway, I'm going to save a bunch of these seeds. Now, technically, this is illegal. Sort of. You know, that's where it gets kind of weird, you know, because some states have legalized marijuana, but they haven't legalized hemp, though the only reason that hemp is illegal is because of the marijuana thing. You know, it's a weird deal now. We actually, in this state, I think marijuana is legal for medical use, but you still can't grow hemp commercially because of the federal laws against it, although they actually do have permits that you can buy to do it, though you can't really do it because it's illegal, you know, so it's a mess, you know, and really it's the kind of thing that should be up to the states, you know, how they want to handle it, but first they do have to get rid of this federal thing that blocks anything, you know, like even now, in the states where it's legal, they run into a problem where your business could be shut down at any time if the feds come in, because to the feds it's illegal, although to the states it's fine. But it screws with their banking and all this stuff, because their banks' accounts could be seized right away, anytime the Fed wants to. But that's to do with the marijuana angle of it. You know, like I say, some of the states it's legal in, but when that got voted in some of those states, you know, the only reason they do it is really, it's kind of pandering, but also it's the states get a lot of money out of it, and that's what they're looking. There is no vice so bad that if you don't make money from it, the states won't go for it. And so, fine. And it's not like I'm against it being legal, though I do know a lot of people in those states that voted to make it legal that are now looking back thinking, well, if I had to do over again, maybe I wouldn't go for this, because it's just gotten to be out of hand, kind of, you know, and like I said, there's still the whole federal problem with it. There's a lot of people that are used to it being legal in their state, and then they try to cross the border into Canada, and they get caught, or come back from Canada where it is legal, and they get caught with it here. you know, it's because it's a federal deal. So it'd be nice if they would get their ass in gear and get this straightened out. Which brings me to one of the holdups now on this stimulus, this one that was supposed to be going through. One of the hangups now is, of course, instead of just making something that has something to do with the pandemic, a clean sort of bill, Pelosi's immediately got to start throwing stuff in there. And one of the demands is to legalize marijuana nationally, which is a problem in the states that don't want to make it legal, but they have to get that straightened away. But you don't go tying that into the pandemic deal. But she's got this wish list, and this is one of the things, and they think this will get them a lot of votes if they go and legalize it. And so that's one of her demands that's holding up the whole operation, is that she wants to make this illegal. You know, it's like you give her a wish list, and she's like a little kid talking right into Santa Claus. I want a Barbie doll, but I want 10 Barbie dolls, and I want a pony. You know, she demands all this stuff that really is not relevant to the pandemic. There's no reason that should be in there, but she can never resist it. Yeah, chickens like being around. Well, like I say, I'd like to see him do it, though I do see problems that can come from this, you know, because it gets out of hand. I know they were talking even the one day about some of these where kids are supposed to be doing remote learning. So here's this webcam set up, and the kid is trying to learn, and here shows up on the webcam one of the parents in their underwear drinking a beer, smoking a joint in the background. Well, you know, you got to be kind of cool about that, but you know, it's not a learning environment. But like I say, I'd like to see him not legalize, so to speak, but federally just decriminalize it. Quit locking people up for foolishness. You know, like this screwed up a lot of people's lives, or kind of run them off the rails. Years ago, you know, I used to smoke pot. I don't have anything against it. Almost everybody I knew growing up in the 70s did. I can't think offhand of anybody who didn't ever smoke pot. But something you grow out of or just lose interest in. But now, it really gets taken to an extreme. I mean, there's people who think they can't think normally unless they're buzzed. You know, that isn't normal when you're, you know, you got a normal, and then, yeah, you can recreate off to but don't try to maintain being buzzed all the time, but that's what people do. And they think that's normal. They're normal. What they wake up with, to them, is abnormal. They got to get buzzed, then they're normal. Yeah. So it screws people's lives up. But it used to be, man, I know people who got caught, you know, like the one woman had like 4 or 5 seeds in the bottom of her purse that had fallen out and were in there. She got arrested for that. You know, a lot of people got thrown in jail for this small, piddly stuff that, in fact, that's like Harris, one of her little things is, oh, legalize marijuana. Which is funny because though she admits she smoked it, she was notorious for throwing people in prison and keeping them there for long periods of time for possession of marijuana. And she laughs like a hyena about it now, and I think, I swear to God, she's loaded up now. But, you know, normal people don't giggle all the time like that. You know, there's something off there. But she thinks that's hilarious that, you know, that she was notorious for locking them up, and now she wants to make it legal. But it's get votes. But, you know, that's the wrong kind of votes. But there's you know, like I say, the only thing I would like to see it done on the federal level is just so that we can get the hemp legalized, because, you know, this was originally growing up here for the war effort. And that's why there's so much of it still all over the place. But it's a valuable commodity that grows very well even in marginal soils. It improves marginal soils. That's like I say, I got that sandy plot, I'm going to plant some in. So I've been, saving tops, dry them out, and then I'll thresh the seeds out. It would be good bird food. In fact, that's why them chickens are up here, they're pecking away at it. But they do feed it to like parakeets and whatnot. But I would like to see, like this whole thing with the stimulus now, there's no reason, you don't have to lump something that's not related into this. I think the merits of decriminalizing it on a federal level stand on their own. They don't need to be tucked in with something else. If you try to make it marijuana legal for recreational use all across the country, you're going to get some pushback on it. We don't need pushback on a relief package for for the pandemic. So leave that stuff out. That can stand on its own merits. But nope, they gotta give me a pony too. But it's interesting stuff. Like I say, what I'm doing with it now, I'll shred this down, and I'll try running some through the carting machine just to see how it comes out. Because then you could spin it, you could do anything with it. But what I'm doing is what they used to do with on old sailing ships. They take old ends of rope, cut them and tear it apart, then mix it with pine tar to make oakum for a caulking on the ship. Well, I'm not caulking a ship, but there are places I need a caulking, and this is what I want to use. But aside from, doing this for my own use kind of thing, which is another thing, okay, if you're going to legalize it, they want to legalize marijuana in this huge business aspect of it, which brings in the tax dollars. I think it was Alaska at one time. You could, if you grew a dozen plants in your backyard for your own use, that was perfectly fine. That's the way it should be. There shouldn't be those kind of regulations on it, but it's either got to be, to them, it's either got to be really regulated, completely controlled, or it has to be a business model. And I don't think, like I can plant tomatoes, I don't need a license, I don't, it should be no different. But don't go throwing it in, trying to tie it in with this stimulus stuff. There's a lot of people that are hurting. To me, it matters very little, but there are people who really need that. So don't go farting around tying all this garbage in. Well, it's just like they're in, now the government is set to shut down in, 10 days or something because they haven't passed that continuing resolution. Well, Pelosi is holding it up because the one thing she refuses to do is to let the commodities corporation, the farm programs, she wants to shut them down altogether. I don't think sometimes people that are in this, so that's what she's holding up. But I think a lot of times people in government have no idea, or especially people that live in city areas, where their food comes from. I think they completely, where it comes from the grocery store. Well, it's got to get there some way. So her whole idea, nobody farms anyway. Yeah, people farm. The whole middle of the country is full of farmers. So, if you're hoping to get votes by doing that, that ain't going to work. But it's always, you got to tie in something completely unrelated to something else. But I think they're just delighted now. They think they can shut the government down. It's like a spoiled little kid. But we'll get by. Got to get her out of there sometime. And don't give in. Do not give her the pony.